everybody, Jason here from Ghostbusters News, and if we're talking about the original 1984 Ghostbusters, the classic Ghostbusters, it is hard to think about any other actors in those title roles. I mean, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, I know there's been different iterations through the years, but it's hard not to first think of Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson when you actually hear the name Ghostbusters. But it could have happened because when Dan Aykroyd first started writing the script, he had different actors in mind. This included John Belushi in the Peter Venkman role, and also Eddie Murphy as Winston Zeddemore. Now, while Aykroyd was working on that original script, sadly, John Belushi, he passed away. And it sounds like those at Columbia Pictures, they wanted Eddie Murphy in the role pretty deep into the development of the film. But Murphy, he was unable to actually be in the movie because he was going to star in Beverly Hills Cop and, start his own franchise. From there, in walks Ernie Hudson. He's hired to play the role of Winston Zeddemore. The character is also rewritten. And there you go, we got the foursome right there. Bill Murray, Danny Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson. But what if there was never a Beverly Hills Cop? What if Eddie Murphy was Winston Zeddemore? And I'm not saying I wish that would have happened because let me tell you, I love me some Ernie Hudson. He's a great man. But recently, I acquired an action figure that kind of answers this question. Check out this toy of Eddie Murphy as Winston Zeddemore. Now let me just say, this is not an official action figure, I mean, obviously. It is 100% a custom, a bootleg if you want to call it, but when I saw this, I had to have it. Now this figure, it was made by Lightning Bolt's Action Figures. Right now you're taking a look at their Instagram page, and it's ran by David McGurk, and let me tell you, David, he makes amazing custom figures. Including this one of Peter Venkman in a very similar tone to this Eddie Murphy figure. But what I think really got my attention with this is the fact that it's kind of that what-if scenario. I mean, Marvel, they're doing what-if. Why can't Ghostbusters? And you'll see here at the top of the packaging, it says Ghostbusters Multiverse. And from what David tells me, this is not going to be the only figure. More are on the way. We got the old school Ghostbusters logo there, image work of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and Slimer. There's even a little warning on the top right-hand side here, reassuring you that this is for display only. This is not to be played with. And we're going to get to the figure right here in a second, but I just want to keep gushing about this packaging because honestly, while I love the figure, the packaging was likely probably the biggest selling point for me. Mainly because of this illustration here of Eddie Murphy in that Ghostbusters khaki flight suit. Proton pack on his back, Neutrino wand in his hand. You also notice the Zeddemore name tag on his chest. Now, at the time of this figure's creation, Lightning Bolt's Action Figures, they didn't actually reveal any additional Ghostbusters Multiverse figures, so the back of the packaging is pretty generic. It's got their logo, you can also see it says, not a real toy, which I mean, I know it's a bootleg, but it's still kind of a real toy though, right? And to kind of give the impression that this action figure, it's old, it's torn, it's tattered, there's some brown stains on the back of here. Which I don't know, I mean I like it, but being that these are Ghostbusters action figures, maybe the next custom, it could have maybe like a green slime effect. Now, finally taking a look at the action figure here, we got once again Eddie Murphy as Winston Zeddemore. And that sounds so weird to say. He's got the flight suit, much like the packaging there, he's got the Zeddemore name tag on his chest, all the little details like the military belt, the elbow pads. It should also be noted that the proton pack he's wearing is a Playmobil proton pack, which fits him perfectly. And the face, it works. I mean, it's not a perfect representation of Eddie Murphy. It's not like he sat down for a face scan or anything like that. So what we have here, it is totally serviceable. And being that this is a throwback to like an old school 5 points of articulation retro action figure, those likenesses back in the day, they were never perfect either. So to me, this face, it fits. Oh, another small little detail that I love that Lightning Bolt's action figures included, you'll see on his left leg, he even includes the leg hose. So much like Ernie Hudson as Winston Zeddemore, if Eddie Murphy, he sees some
shit that'll turn you white,
he can just relieve himself right there in the flight suit. It's a pee hose. That's what the leg hose is. It's a pee hose. Oh, and before we wrap things up here today, I also want to add that the action figure does come with a certificate of authenticity, which certifies that this action figure is 100% a bootleg. And you'll see there, it's also signed by David McGurk. Once again, be sure to give Lightning Bolts Action Figures a follow over on Instagram. I got a link to their Instagram page down below in this video's description. And with that said, that's all I've got for you here right now. As always, be sure to subscribe to Ghostbusters News here on YouTube. Bust that bell notification icon to stay up to date with everything that's happening within the Ghostbusters world. If you'd like to join up with Ghostbusters News, check out our Patreon page. We have a link to that down below in the description. And I will see you right back here next time.